Hello, my name is Raymond Karchevsky. I am a living Christ. This living Christ calls for an end to the present government through boycott. Hello, America. Hello, world. I write and speak to you today about the imminent danger that we all face as living men and women on this earth today. Many of you are leery of any mortal man who would deign to identify himself to you as a living Christ. You see, you collectively and individually, you presently lack the spiritual awareness of knowing who you truly are and your present power. It has led to the servitude of man, of civilized man, to the forces of evil, duality, which controls the intellectual, trained mind, which has enslaved mankind since the beginning of time. What is this control? It is satanic mind control, remote conditioning of the dualistic intellect through schools, through government, religion, banking, and corporate media. Its roots lie in the occult practices of the few who rule over the many through hypnotic spells, which induce fear and fantasy, which overwhelms the dualistic conscious mind, unbalancing it from its creative, non-dualistic subconscious mind, which is abandoned during childhood through traumatic practices of established education, thereby corrupting it to obedience and dependence upon artificial words, symbols, ideas, beliefs, superstitions as authority, thus destroying their innate, godlike creative balance in projecting a fantasy world of thought which replaces their natural world of holistic energy, of truth. That is the civilized world you have all created for yourselves by your collective consent. It is hell, with its wars, crime, dualistic pleasures, and pain of corrupted consciousness through alcohol, drugs, addictions of all kinds, and confusion, which is considered to be the normal fare. What is the Christ, first of all? Merely a man, a simple man of truth, living in a world of satanic intellectual division, deception, and power, but has navigated his way throughout its wicked twists and turns, and managed to find his way back to the balance of using both his subconscious and conscious intellect simultaneously. That's all that Jesus of Nazareth was, a homeless man, beyond the grasp of the organized, satanic, civilized institutions of his time. And he brought the message of non-dualistic truth to the intellectually corrupted, civilized minds of the people of his time. He was a threat to the unholy, satanic institutions of his time. And the few who ruled the many had to kill him and make him into a legend and keep their unholy control over the mass mind prior to, during, and since his death. Now I am such a living Christ, a simple man of truth, and I pose the same threat to the satanic powers of this time. However, mine is still a work in progress, as is each and every one of you. But you are quite unaware of it. My purpose is to reacquaint yourselves with that state of consciousness, and thereby change this world of ours into a heaven on earth. You see, you are the creators of your world, of the quality of your lives, your perspectives, your quality, the holistic grasp of creative truth that has been diminished by your fictional beliefs, which have been instilled upon you, in you, through satanic dualistic training. I am no different from you. However, I have faced the world with integrity, with oneness, wholeness, aloneness, while most of you have chosen the path of security, groupthink, artificial fictions, reliance and dependence upon illusions, which have created a fantasy world, which you now call civilized. Yes, my life resembles most of yours, but its shift in consciousness arises from my actions that only I could be responsible for. And so it is that you have missed this life-changing ingredient in your passage through life. In my early life, I spent time in the army, spending 14 months in Korea in the late 50s, serving the satanic government. A result of my earlier satanic conditioning, which was followed up with a short career as a police sergeant in Pacifica, California, followed by a forced retirement as my holistic consciousness clashed with the policies of corrupt men who could not control the actions of this living man. In those 12 years, the same police and political officials responsible for my forced retirement from the police department tried to put me out of business, as I was still too close to their operation. They fell. They failed. I never missed a day of service to my clients in 12 years when I chose to voluntarily retire. Their satanic power could not overcome the simple truth of this integral man. That integrity has followed me throughout this life. I chose to retire to beautiful Southern Oregon, at a departure from the streets of South Chicago, where I grew up, and later the suburb of San Francisco, Pacifica, where I soon found the same political corruption in the Josephine County Sheriff's Office, the state of Oregon and its courts, and the federal government of the United States. The locales had changed, but the satanic power of government remained the same throughout. I had rescinded my Oregon driver's license in 1999 and had been lawfully traveling in my private automobile ever since. I had completely broken free from the satanic illusory controls which govern most of you. Then and there began a 2-decade-long war waged against this living Christ, this simple man of truth, by all forms of this government. It continues to this very day. But Satan, with all of his intellectual power, has been unable to destroy this living Christ. Even after 2 bogus criminal trials which threatened to imprison me for 40 years, in which I stood alone and walked away with no charges, even though the defendant was convicted in both trials. How? The satanic judicial courts, yes, I said satanic, could not prove jurisdiction over this living man. And I must add, they have no jurisdiction over any of you without your consent. That is the power that each of you possess, but are completely unaware of. You have consented to give your life away, to sell your souls for security. And as much as all satanic, intellectually driven men and their man-made institutions of power rely upon your contracting consent to be ruled by artificial rules, and you have abandoned the law of do no harm, tell no lie, freeing you from the hell of duality. You and I share the same world of hell together, but I am not of it, while you unfortunately are. Since 1999, I have brought you solution to all of your problems of a confused, violent, unfair life, yet you reject it. Violently, in fact. Well, what is that solution? Since you have created the fictional government as an illusion of your intellect, you can just as well uncreate it. For it is not real, but for your belief. How do you break free? By peaceful boycott, withdrawal of your support. Change your withholding agreement with your employer if you work for another and you still have a job. Get a full day's pay for a full day's work, and then you fund the government that serves you, not itself. However, you have been seduced into satanic dualism through intellectual training to resist, fight, argue, protest, loot, riot, burn. Then you call upon your fictitious government to rebuild that which you have destroyed. But with whose money? You continue to support the artificial laws which destroy your freedoms, your loss, jobs, your homes, throwing you on the street, which, through fictional rules which destroy the economy and leads to house, lockdown, arrests, martial law, and ultimately leads to a cashless, one world, master, slave, ruled world. With my history, why would anyone expect that I would support a government which has focused its satanic tyranny upon me and you, and we subsidize that? You see, we are the government. That which we call government is merely our servants. And you and I, the people, have the power over our own destiny to rule the government that we hire and we support. Let us begin to live like holistic, sovereign, the people that we are, and start acting like it. You have been pretty well dumbed down, haven't you? That can all change now. Thank you.